Hi guys, welcome to another exciting and brave conversation. I am sitting here with Tendani Ramovha. Yo, this woman is brave, she is bold, and she is beautiful. And I'm so glad that she is here. Look, this is our first time meeting, so I've never met her, but I'm so glad that she's here because I genuinely believe she has something so important to share with us today. And so that's why she took the time to be here with us. Tendani, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing
great.
well. Thank you.
You're right.
So listen, it's my understanding that you studied biotechnology.
Yes.
And then you went into marketing, and now you have your MBA as well.
Yes.
But obviously maybe not even before, but after that, you then pursued your corporate career, worked in several global companies as well. Yeah, quite the experienced
Quite
one.
the experience, yeah. Very experienced.
All right,
yeah.
and then you are vendor speaking. Am I correct in saying that?
I am vendor speaking.
Were you born and raised in vendor?
Born, raised in vendor, speak pure 100% vendor.
Vendor. I'm also vendor speaking, by the way.
But your name is a suspect.
It's puzzling. People don't believe me purely because of my name.
Exactly.
So I usually say Lerato Vendor, and they're like, what?
Yeah, the accent gives it away big time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did I just pull an accent right
you
now?
You did pull an accent, vendor one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a good one.
It was a good one. It was a vendor one.
I thought you're saying I'm proving you right when I say I'm
not.
not. Okay.
No. You're proving me right.
I was about to say, how? Ganjan?
No.
All right.
Vendor,
no, lovely to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you too.
Tell me something. What was the family setup like growing up?
Okay, so I grew up with both parents. I'm the only child to my mom. My parents divorced while I was 6 years old. And the first 6 years that I remember with both my parents I was a little spoiled brat. My dad did everything for me. I was more closer to my dad than anything else. It was a happy home. My dad provided stuff that most kids did not have. I grew up with toys. I had trains, I had bicycles. I went to Model C schools. I ate, cheese and polony. And I mean, in 1980, that was like the life.
Shrimp.
Exactly. Yeah, but unfortunately, 6 years, when you're 6, you're like, what's going on? We're living with my grandmother now. And, it's a big family, cousins, and I'm not used to that type of a lifestyle. And just after the divorce, I was then put into boarding school for about 7 years. So it was a nice experience. I was in a Catholic school, very strict, but it taught me a lot of independence, responsibility. It allowed me to live my own life the way I wanted to shape it. And I think while I was there, I don't have an English name. And my father refused to give me an English name. So when I was at school, there was Sister Helen that kept on saying, why don't we just give you an English name, one that speaks around who you are? How? And one day she comes and she says, I'm naming you Confidence. And that has been my name ever since.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So you are Tendani Confidence Ramovha.
Yes.
How did your parents react to that? That, someone else is giving you a name?
I loved it. So I explained to my mom that I identify with it. So what's wrong? If I love it and I'm not being forced to do it, there's nothing wrong, That
is so special. It's so unique.
Exactly,
So at no point did you feel, look, in hindsight, when you think about it now, do you feel like she should never have done that? Like she was in no position to just dismiss my name that was authentically given to me by my parents? Or are you still so appreciative that she gave you a bold and powerful name?
I think she shaped my life. If I look at it then, I would have said I wasn't happy about it. But she didn't impose it. Okay. She didn't force it. Okay. I genuinely believed that she did it because she cared for me. And up until today, I haven't seen any ill intention of her giving me that name. Okay. And I think also the fact that she is a person of religion, a person that believes in God, I believe that she had good intentions for me. And the name she gave me is not the typical names that were normally forced to people. William, Philip, those were not the names. But I felt that it identified with me. I had the confidence that Sister Helen kept on saying, you always have a confidence to do anything. And when you put your mind to it, that's what you do. And I really believe that that name was a blessing to me, and I don't regret it at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you spoke about your dad, living with your dad, and he spoiled you and gave you all of life's blessings,
Exactly.
and all the wonderful things that came with that. And then you found yourself in a different setup altogether.
Yeah.
Was that different setup your mom's side of the family?
I was raised by my mother. I identify with my mother's side of the family. When it comes to culture, when it comes to how to do things, that's the only way, the only know-how I know. With my dad, very little. I think he didn't have a big influence in how I shaped out in life, and also what they do in their family. So even though I carry the surname of my dad, I really was born and bred and raised by the Dama family.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I understand. Look, at some point you say your dad was a big part of your life, but the majority of your life was your mom's influence. What are some of the profound things that your mother or your father have said to you that have remained with you and influenced who you've become?
Okay, so when I realized what has happened to my parents and that I'm no longer going to live with both of them, my dad said to me, nothing will ever change. You will always be my daughter. You will always be my first child. So in any circumstance that you find yourself in, you've got a father that you can count on. Even though I'm from a single parent, my dad did everything he could to raise me. There was at no point where he ran away. There was no point where he disappeared. In actual force, he enforced a lot of things so that I could stay close to him. So with that, I always said to myself, if a parent can declare that you are a child of his and nothing will change that, what stops that? You know, it's not the marriage that will make him a father, but it's the actions that he does in terms of my life. Yeah, we had a lot of fights with my dad. We're more alike. We've got very strong personalities, and I don't just take anything lying down. And we butt heads, especially when I was in university, you know, when you're growing up. But at some point we found on another again.
Yeah.
And yeah, we close. With my mother is very quiet, very opposite to who I am. And the one thing I saw is that she has never let me down. My mother, I could have done any bad thing. She would never condemn me. Yes, she will tell me it's wrong, but the support that I got from her is massive. I got divorced after 3 months of being married.
3 months of marriage.
Yeah, and my mother said, if you feel this is the right decision, do it. You know, she has never forced me to belong in a place where I don't find myself happy in. She always says that if you feel you don't like something, then I'll support you. So it's not about her, it's about my happiness. And I think those are the two traits that I've taken from my parents that have really stayed with me and shaped my life as well.
Sure, that's such a very, very, very key thing that you brought up, which I actually will bring up again. But before I go there, you know, I forgot to mention, guys, that this woman has what is turning to be a whole empire. She has a skin, hair, and retail business, obsessed with skin. Obviously scalp in terms of hair, but just skin, facial, everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that this has now been your trajectory. You've had such an important shaping and molding that has, you know, influenced how you think and potentially even how big you get to dream as well.
Exactly.
This business of skin, hair, and retail, were there any telltale signs growing up that this is what you would eventually do? Were you know, mixing things together when you were growing up that clearly don't surprise you today?
Not at all.
You weren't?
Not at all. It was never in my radar. I'd never thought about it.
Yeah.
I'd never even thought about making my own products. My journey was always to work in corporate, to climb that ladder as fast as I can, and my goal was to become a CEO. That's all I was gunning for.
Of whatever corporation.
Of whatever corporation, but that's what I was gunning for. And you know, with life, it kind of takes you back to where you started. You mentioned that I did biotechnology, yes. So my time when I studied, I was in a laboratory. And it's so strange that it has given me a 360-degree, I'm back in the laboratory situation.
Yes,
That's what I'm doing now.
yes.
Now I wear my lab coat and I'm like, oh, I remember in 1996, the first time I went into the laboratory. But to be honest, no, it was never my intention to end up where I am.
You know, look, at the end of the day, you did mention your vision, which was to join corporate.
Yes.
And you went with that vision and you joined corporate, worked for some massive global organizations.
Yes.
But yours was a tough journey.
Yep.
You know, so tough that I thought, you know, something like this needs to be heard and needs to be unpacked further. There were some things that you had to brave unnecessarily.
Yes.
You know, and I say that word unnecessarily because yes, life gets tough, life gets challenging. We do get faced with some things that we need to overcome, etc. But not soul-destroying things,
Yes.
not things that will break you down physically and soulfully as well. And is it safe for me to say that you went through a destruction of sorts? And
Yes.
that you had to brave some things unnecessarily. What are those things that you braved unnecessarily in the workplace?
All right, so the first thing that you have to brave is that you are a woman in a workplace. And if you are a woman that has got decision-making power, it's really undermined. The fact that you sit in a boardroom with a lot of males and you are the only female, and when you raise a point of view or you make a suggestion on something that is required, and it's like you have not been heard. And then in the next moment, a male says exactly the same thing that you've said, and all of a sudden, it is something that is considered. Those were some of the things that you would go through. But not only that, when you are assertive, the words that comes out is you are aggressive, you know, you talk too much, you are not good in terms of how you present yourself in corporate. So there's a lot of labeling that happens when you enter this environment. And entering this environment as a black female and not having other people that can support you, it can really start getting to your mind to say, do I really know how to do my job? Am I at the right place? Because I'm saying exactly what others are saying, but I'm not heard. So it means my voice is less important than the other female, the male counter. So for me, that was the one thing I realized. So as I said, I don't take things lying down. I fight. So I'm not someone that flies when something happens. I go and fight this war.
Head on.
Head on. So I made a decision there and then that I'm here because I deserve to be here. I'm here because I can make a difference in this place. And when I did that, I became the blue eye girl. I touched anything in a corporate environment and I would turn it to gold. That is how I proved myself. But in doing so, there is so much of yourself that you lose. And at some point, it gets so much that you look at the mirror and you ask yourself, who am I? And that is when the realization comes and says, you are living a life you should not be living, and that will not be sustainable. So for me, those were the issues that I was encountering in the workplace. Also the issues of politics. When I started in corporate, I was like, I don't want to get involved in corporate politics. I don't want to be involved. It's dirty. You can't ignore it. You have to now start playing the corporate politics. And when you play corporate politics, it's dirty. And when you are not playing corporate politics, you are left out of the room. So I had to start playing that politics.
Is that what you meant when you said you lose yourself?
Yes. Yes.
So you found yourself compromising your
values, my morals,
principles, all of that,
exactly,
in the name of keeping up with
Yes.
the expectations that they had of you.
Exactly. And I did. I climbed the ladder very quickly, very quickly. But at some point, I had to ask myself, at what cost? At what cost? And that's what you live with at the end of the day. You ask yourself, I got there because I compromised values. I did what I would not have necessarily done. But I think at that time, when you've got a goal that you want to achieve, you say, I'll achieve it at all cost.
Sure.
But at all cost is also very detrimental to either your health, your credibility, and who you are as a person, because
100%.
you lose yourself and become somebody else.
Now, I understand that there was an incident where you had some meltdown.
Yes.
A meltdown of sorts. What happened leading up to that moment, and what were the results of that meltdown?
So I would explain the meltdown starting from the day I got into this organization. So first day I got there, the first red flag was that I felt I was out of place. I was not in a place where I'm kind of welcomed. I then started to study the environment that I was at and realized that I was employed as a token of BEE. I was going to give them the maximum points of BEE. They were going to move from a non-compliant status to a level 4. So obviously there, when you start to think about it, you're like, okay, there was a reason why I was brought in. And the next part was the job that I was given. I know it very well. I know what needs to be done. It's something that can happen within a year. But every time I spoke, I wasn't listened to. Decisions were made elsewhere, and when things go wrong, I am the one that is being blamed on. So I started to now fight against what was happening. And the more I fight, the more it got worse. So how I would explain it is that if you are a black female in an organization, I call it a pyramid, okay? So I was at the bottom end of the pyramid, and then there's layers of different races and personalities that are formed there. Being the only black person in South Africa at an executive, your voice is zero. You will not be heard because there is no one that can identify with what you're saying. So decisions that were being made for South African employees and understanding how South Africa is, it was not a gelling up. So we butted heads a lot with my boss. And at that point, I realized that I've come to a place where in terms of education, we are not aligned. In terms of experience, we are not aligned. So I am at a very high level, but I've come to an organization that is still at a very basic, lower level.
Okay.
And at every single moment that I get to encounter with executives or people from the global team, you are put there as a token, you know, make her happy, but everything else will still do as we were doing. So I wasn't there to change anything. I was just there for those points that were there. And it started to get to me so bad that when I have to wake up in the morning, I have to find a reason why I need to go to work. So when I wake up, I'm like, do I feel sick today? And if I felt like I was not up to it, I wouldn't go to work. And that was not me. I used to wake up, I used to love my work. I would work all sorts of hours. But it started to get to me that, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if my excuse all the time is to find a reason not to go to work, something is wrong. So I continued. Obviously, you've got bills, you've got expenses you need to pay.
Yeah.
So I continued with the work. On the 12th month, it just got too much for me. And we went into an executive meeting. Everything was going well. Around 3 o'clock, I stood up to go and get something to drink, and I collapsed. And I woke up, I'm in hospital, and there's everything drips, everything around me. I don't know how I got there. I don't know what's going on. And that is when my health took a bad toll. Like it went from bad to worse. Doctors could not find what was wrong with me. The stress levels, they're saying it's contributing to what is happening. I went off for about 2 months, not going to work. And at that point, my health was not getting better. And that's when I realized that something needs to change. Something got me to this level. And for me, it was all those things that happened when I started in corporate to try and climb the ladder, they've started to catch up with me. And when they did, it was at the wrong place, at the wrong environment, which was not giving me what I'm used to. So the fact that in other organizations I could play this game, I could win this game, in this environment I was not winning. And I think that's when I had the breakdown. Yeah.
I was about to ask you to say, what for you was the moment that let you know that this is it? And I suppose that was that moment.
That the moment is when I saw my mother at the hospital. I saw my 2 kids, and I realized that it's not worth it. If I have to leave this world when my son is 18 years old and my daughter is 9 years old, then I'd rather not. And that's the day that I decided that this is not for me. The day I went back to work, I went to my boss and I said, I'm resigning. And he said, no, let's talk about it. I said, with immediate effect, I'm leaving now. I had already packed my box, I had everything, and then I signed off and I left. It wasn't something I needed to discuss. It wasn't something I needed to resolve with someone. I had made up my mind that if I stay there, this is going to be destructive. And not only destructive for my health, it's going to end up where I am in subordination and I tainter my reputation of who Tendani is in a corporate world. And I wasn't willing to do that. So I decided that it's time to leave.
Did you have support, financial? Did you have savings? Did you have someone who said, if you leave, I'll take care of you? Were all those things in place, or you were just on your own unique path and you were going to figure it out later as you approach the later?
Okay, so when I'm a single parent, and when you're a single parent, there's a realization that at some point you're going to need some saving. You know, you need to save for those rainy days. And I saved a lot. And I had not saved the money for me leaving corporate, but it was just a nest that I was trying to build for myself, for my kids as well, in terms of having to do different types of activities in life. And when I decided to make that decision, I didn't think about the money. I didn't think about the bills. I didn't think about anything else except the fact that I needed to leave that poisonous place. Leaving was easier for me because I knew that there was some money that was put aside. Even though it was not for that, there was money that I've put aside. So I think my understanding of saving and saving for that rainy day is the one that assisted me to make this decision. Because if it wasn't for that, I think I would have stayed on just to try and make sure that we can live, you know, we can still pay the bills.
So the message here is to stay ready.
You must always be ready. You must always be ready, because that day when it comes, it does not give you a warning to say, you know what, I'm coming in the next 3 months, therefore start preparing. It doesn't.
And what were you feeling? Were you, you know, when you spoke about the doctors couldn't find anything in particular, were you in pain? Were you having heart palpitations? Were you sweating? What was the physical feeling?
So the physical feeling was I become woozy and then I just collapse. So it just starts by being woozy and then all of a sudden I'm on the floor. And this happens, I think I collapsed almost 18 times in about 10 to 15 days.
At work?
No. I had left work. I was at home now.
Oh, you mean after that initial collapse?
After that initial collapse. So that's what was happening. And I wasn't in pain. I knew something was wrong. It got to a point where I couldn't walk. I couldn't go to the bathroom. And still, we didn't know what was happening. I had to be flown to Cape Town to see other specialists to understand what was wrong with me. and we still could not find what was wrong with me. So it took 2 years, 3 months for me to get a diagnosis. And when the diagnosis came, I then looked back at my pharmaceutical days of what is it that I've experienced and exactly what was happening at every time in terms of symptoms, in terms of the pain that I used to have, and some of the little sickness that were coming. They did tell me that I had an autoimmune disease, and that's what I'm living today. Yeah.
So there were some signs leading up to that initial moment.
Yes.
But that you overlooked because things were busy.
Yes.
You know, you just had to, it was deadline after deadline after deadline.
And I thrived on that deadline. I'm not going to lie and say there was a point where I wasn't. It's only when I got to this environment that I wasn't myself. I would chase a deadline. I would be up until 2 a.m. and I would not complain. I loved that. But at this organization, it just got a little bit hectic for me.
A little bit hectic for you. Sure. And what sort of things do you wish more companies would put in place to ensure genuine employee wellness?
Okay.
Or well-being,
well-being.
employee well-being.
There's a lot of focus in corporate to lead well, but there is a downgrade of mental health or physical health for employees. So what we are taught in terms of leadership, in terms of decision making and all that, it's just the functional aspects, but we don't look after the human being themselves, and that's what's lacking. And for me, it's not about maybe working from home or those types of things. It's the real support that you would get from your manager or from your boss or from colleagues in terms of having to identify when something is going wrong. But corporate doesn't. What corporate does is when things go wrong, they fast track that to be even worse. And at that point, when things get worse, all they're looking for is a way out. How do we get her out? How do we constructively let her live? They do not have the mercy of saying, how do we resuscitate this situation so that we can still nurture this person? Yeah.
So it's more than the physical being. It's the mental, it's the emotional, it's the genuine care.
It's the genuine care. They care when the numbers are there. But let one number go down. That's when you realize that I'm not valued the same way I'm valued when we are up there. But when we're down here, I'm alone. But when we are up here, all of us have contributed to this. And I think that's where it becomes very lonely, because when things do go wrong, no one is there with you. But when things are good, everyone is there with you celebrating.
Let's go for drinks, eh?
Exactly.
Tens, eh?
And the
Well
most
done.
expensive restaurants. You know, here's your bonus. Fly to this place.
Just
you
get
know,
some rest. Shame, man.
Exactly.
You know, we'll come back.
Yeah. But if that could have been done, for instance, when things are down and you say, you know what, go get a rest. Go find out why this is happening. No, you are condemned when you are down.
Now, you left the last organization that you were at. Why not leave to go to a different organization that perhaps appears to have a more conducive, healthier environment? Why entrepreneurship?
My intention was to stay unemployed for about 3 months and then start looking for a job. And obviously, you know, COVID came and the opportunities will become less and less. At that point, I realized that maybe I need to change gears in terms of what I want in my life. And I started looking back and saying, what have I studied? What have I done? What experience do I have? What is this thing that I want to do? Maybe something different. And it wasn't something that was going to sustain my life. It was like a part-time hustle that I wanted to do. So when I was at the last company, I really enjoyed skincare. I really loved cosmetics. So I then started to say, you know what, let me try, play around, let's see what this will come out. And it went horrible. And I decided I'm not giving up, I'm going to study, I'm going to learn how to do this thing. And I started making my own products. And the idea really was to make the products to sell directly to customers.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
never to open a contract manufacturing company, a training institute, and also selling bulk ingredients to people that make the products. So when that started to happen, I realized that there is an opportunity in the market. And there's a big gap in terms of black-owned companies that are manufacturing cosmetics. And that's why I then decided, let me take this journey and see where it's going to take me. And I haven't regretted since.
Wow. So it was born out of a really, really dry season for you, where no opportunities were presenting themselves, but you just looked around you and you said to yourself, what do I have that I can use, you know, for the next chapter of my life?
Exactly.
You know, earlier on when I asked you about what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned from from mom, from dad, one of the biggest lessons I learned from my mother is that she said to me, if ever in life you are down and out, always look around you, look within you, and ask yourself, what do I have? And so you have just really done exactly that, to say, we are never in a position where we have nothing, nothing. And I want to substantiate that, because I know there's a lot of people who would look at this and say, no, but Lerato, there are people who really have nothing, nothing. I was driving the other day, just around the Hellingham side of Johannesburg. And as I drove, I came upon a red robot. And I stood there, and from nowhere, you know, typically you have the guys who would juggle balls
wash your windows.
for entertainment, wash your windows, something, you know. Others do these acrobatics, you know, hey, it's the show and tell. You know? And this particular guy walked up to the car from nowhere. I didn't even see him walking up to, he just appeared. And he had the biggest smile on his face. And he started waving at me, waving. I mean, it was so contagious. I looked to the left car, I looked to the right, and I was like, is he waving at me? And I waved back. And beyond that, then he did this, and he's like... And I was like...
All these are the robots.
Oh my goodness, and I'm now here searching myself, you know, looking for my purse, but unfortunately it was in the boot.
Okay.
But my point is, I learned so much from that, even that moment, to say he may not have the talents of acrobatics, the hand-eye coordination of juggling balls, you know. He may not have anything else, but he had his love that he wanted to extend.
Exactly.
And he had a smile that he wanted to extend to bring joy. And joy is such a rare commodity.
It is very rare.
I was like, no, then it's possible to have something.
It is.
It is possible to have just that one thing.
One thing. That's true.
Oh,
That's
man, that gives me so much courage. That gives me so much courage when you say, in that moment of dryness, in that season of scarcity, you looked around you and you looked within you. Tendani, what do you have? You know, and you made that work.
I made that work.
And today, this has become your bread and butter.
It is my bread and butter.
And it's growing.
And it's growing. And every day I wake up, I am amazed in terms of the growth of the Tens retail. It started off as a hustle, but now it has become so big that I ask myself, why would God be this generous? And I remember saying to my mother, it's because I worked hard for it. And when I worked hard for it, I asked God to be with me in this journey. So He is rewarding me for that work that I've done. So I'm really appreciative of what's happening in my business, and I'm still at home. I mean, it's my small garage. I'm thinking of now moving out because the business is becoming bigger and bigger. So yeah, I'm very happy.
Listen, when you talk about the business growing and becoming bigger and bigger, in the growth, there will be difficult people along the way. There will be difficult circumstances that you find yourself in. And how do you now, in hindsight, having experienced difficult people then and difficult cultures and all of that, in hindsight, mental resilience is a big part also of growth. How do we introduce mental resilience when we are faced with difficult people, difficult cultures, difficult situations in general? How have you geared yourself up for that? Because if you're running a business, there's a lot of customers with multiple personalities that are going to get in the, some of them are going to get in the way of your happiness or some even of your purpose.
Exactly.
How do you build that mental resilience?
Mental resilience is not about being strong. It's not about knowing the right answers, but it's looking deep down and saying, what has gone wrong? What is going right? What can I change? And also accepting responsibility. If you are a person that shies away from responsibility, then you're going to have problems going forward.
But also knowing when to walk away. You know, because resilience doesn't mean you kill yourself.
No, it doesn't.
You know,
it doesn't.
It's knowing your limits.
Yes.
You know, have I been respectful in the situation?
Yes.
Have I tried my best?
Yeah.
Am I in the right intentions?
Exactly.
And if I am, and the situation is still, you know, bleak and looks like it's going to literally kill me, the power to walk away is also a big part of it. You know?
Yeah, it's a big part of it.
Sure.
So that's
Tell
why
me something.
That's why for me, certain types of products I would not make based on the fact that that's not who we are.
What is your view on bleaching products?
Okay.
Skin bleaching products.
I think there's nothing wrong with bleaching, but it's the extent that people take in terms of bleaching. So let's compare it to medicine. If you are taking medicine and you're taking the right dosage, there's nothing wrong. But your side effects will still be there, but they are controlled in terms of benefits. When you start going above the limits, where you start compromising your skin layers and you are thinning your barrier, that's when big problems comes. Remember, with skin, is that once you start bleaching, you have to bleach forever because the melanocytes are still going to produce melanin. They're never going to stop. So if you are treating that, that is a long-term maintenance therapy that you need to do. The moment you stop, you're going to go worse than what you were. Yes, because the melanocytes are saying the skin is compromised, the barrier is not what we need, therefore let's go and block all the rays that are coming so that you don't get your skin destroyed. But already that's what you are doing. So if you do it in the right way, at the right place, it is safe. But if you go into outside the limits, then you're going to have problems. Yeah.
Hairline. I'm also seeing a lot of us are thinning here. When I say a lot of us, I mean myself included, and I know a few other people as well. Do you have stuff that actually works? You know, there's a lot of products that claim to do that job that actually don't do that job.
Exactly.
Do your products do that job?
No.
Your hair products?
No.
No.
There is one thing that I don't like to claim in terms of products, and maybe it's because of my pharmaceutical background and understanding different types of skin disease, hair issues. Someone that has got alopecia, where you've got no hair at all, it's now bald. There is no way that I will be able to make a product that will bring that hair back. You need certain therapies from a doctor's space, laser, those types of things to bring that hair back. So what happens, especially in the natural space, because of no regulation, we claim everything. And we say our products will be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4. But in actual fact, it doesn't. So what happens is you move from this brand to that brand to that brand, and none of them are going to work. But me understanding that the alopecia is not something that is easily sorted out. With just a product, it's not going to happen. So if we could understand the disease and what it means, we will then understand that there are some therapies in natural space that are not going to solve it. Yeah.
So yours is more about conditioning, you know, hydrating, moisturizing. It's really in that arena.
It's really in that arena.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. This is so good. Tell me, you said you are growing, things are looking up, and you're looking to move out. And clearly there is success in that. Yeah. What does success look like for you?
You know, success is when you sit down and look at yourself, some things are going right. So for me, it's not really okay. In my corporate world, success was money. Okay. And that's what I was chasing. Money, money, money. And when I started this business and being at home, I started to get a different success. And that success was being with my family, being with my kids. I had neglected that relationship with them because of corporate. And now my success is seeing my children growing up with me behind them, but not me watching them growing up. My success for me is when my son says, this is what I want to do, mommy, and I'm right there with him. I had prioritized materialistic stuff that allowed me not to nurture the kids that I've got. So when I look at success is, am I at the right space? Am I doing what I would have loved to do? Do I wake up every day wanting to do what I'm doing? And that for me is success.
I love that. So breathtaking. You know, I'm having more and more guests who are redefining the narrative of success.
Yeah.
And there's so much joy and peace and calmness and gratitude in that definition.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Nirata.
How can how can people access your skin products, your hair products?
So I've got an Instagram page, Facebook page called Retail. You can find us there. You can DM us, WhatsApp us. We always answer everybody's question. And if we don't have the solution, we'll either tell you, you need to find a different solution somewhere else, or we will make the solution for you. So our slogan is, we are in it with together.
We're in it together.
Yes.
Halala.
Halala.
I love it. I love it. Oh, Tendani, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Sis.
Thank you for the invite. I really loved this.
Oh, gosh, thank you for being brave with us.
Thank you.
It's not easy, but you know, a lot of these conversations need to be had.
Yes.
If anything, ours is to help give people tools that will help them navigate their everyday challenges.
Exactly.
And I think you've just done exactly that. So thank you.
Thank you so
Guys,
much.
it's exactly that. It's helping you identify the tools in your life that's going to help you navigate through the challenges that you are experiencing, be it in the corporate space, your own business, the family front. We have many different guests that really come to share for the purposes of your empowerment. So I really hope that you are enjoying these. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. That's a big one. Subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications about the next episodes to come. So thank you for watching. Thank you. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.